Mm.
Going live on YouTube. All right. So, need that. Call this meeting to order at 13:06. We do not have a quorum, so we won't be voting on anything today. So anything that needs a vote will be tabled. So we will have open forum. Does anybody have anything they want to say under open forum? No? Okay. We'll table the consent agenda, old business, 2021 bond. So the bond passed. They are constructing at the high school, tearing apart stuff and rebuilding stuff. They're looking at 4 days where they're going to have 4 different days where they're going to have cranes on site moving stuff on and off the roof. They got some steel work to do. They have some electrical work to do. So should be an interesting project. I know they have to do some of the work during the school year. Some of the units won't be in until October, I think. So they're planning to do that on a weekend, so they don't have to close the campus or worry about safety while there's a crane on site.
I'm a little concerned about the machines.
Yeah.
Moisture. I know I came back after COVID and I had a lot of mold in there because there's not a lot of airflow, which they're working on and fixing. And
Right.
so I'm a little concerned about the new machines. And
They make a note and have somebody go check on those.
I took all the keyboards and mice out and put them in a locked closet.
Okay.
So I just left the units and I powered them off, but they just don't like water very much.
No, not even a little bit.
And those keyboards are atrocious. They were not a good keyboard this year. Very sensitive.
Apple had a better idea.
They did.
You can't buy the wired keyboard anymore unless you find a used one or a refurbished.
Yeah, it's just those magic keyboards.
It's like the iPhone 8 my son has, and it doesn't have any audio adapters, so you've got to get the Bluetooth headphones. And my husband's like, it must have a jack, like an aux port. I'm like, no, it has nothing, darling.
You either need Bluetooth or USB.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's an adapter for that.
Of course there is. And Apple will be happy to charge you $50 for it.
Yeah, we've done a couple of those.
So anything else about the bond?
Have you been to the high school?
I have not. Bob was talking. I don't think you're allowed in without a hard hat right now. I know that Steve has been there all day, every day, dealing with the crews. But yeah, Bob said quite a bit was taken apart. Right, you'd be surprised how much demolition they had to do to get to what they needed to get to.
I wouldn't be that surprised. Maybe they'll get some new ceilings that don't leak in the process of venting, right? Wonderful.
I guess the Mitsubishi units aren't a problem, and some of the train units will be in, but some of them are delayed. So we'll see how far they get.
Yeah,
But there's a capital projects building committee meeting next Wednesday, so I'll find out more about what's going on. But that's just based on the summary that Bob gave to the school committee last night.
how's the unit acquisition? That's probably not part of the bond issue. We'll save it for the new.
That's coming on the agenda.
Table.
The next thing on the agenda is classroom technology. There were 16 Promethean boards in the budget for this year. We're going to order 15. While Willem decided they only needed 2 instead of 3, and they're going to use that money for something else. There's 1 in junior high science, 12 at Metcalf, and 2 at Walton. So I put in that order today. Student and teacher devices. So far, I've only ordered the central office Windows computers. I'm waiting on lease proposals from Apple and from Wally. So they were the ones who came back with the best prices for this stuff. So RISD went out to bid a couple months ago. There were 6 vendors who were approved. I reached out to all 6 vendors, said this is what we need. Didn't get most of the quotes back until last week. So I went through those quotes, and I wanted a vendor who could get me more than one thing on the list. And there were a couple of vendors who just sent me the Chromebooks. I'm like, I'm not doing a lease for just Chromebooks. I want to get more than that in one lease. I only want to sign like 2 or 3 leases. I don't want 5. So the vendors who proposed enough stuff to be considered were Wally and Gov Connections. Gov Connections had the best price on the Windows laptops and the Chromebooks. They're similar to the ones that we got last year, but they have Intel N4020 processors for the students. So we'll go with those. Got a really good price from Connections on those. And then the Windows laptops, I want to say they're like Microsoft Surface Go's. She gave me a really good price for the specs. They're like i5s with 16 gigs of RAM. So,
were there any teachers that requested Windows laptops?
There was one teacher who requested a Windows laptop, and it was let's see here, the PE teacher at Wawaloon.
Okay, good. I won't be over there this year, so it's okay.
And then Wally proposed the Dell 5100 2-in-1s at a really good price. The spec came back with an i5 and 8 gigs of RAM. I told them change that to an i5 with 16 gigs of RAM and give me a leasing proposal, along with what else was I going to order from Wally? A machine that runs SolidWorks for a teacher who requested it, and my machine. The price came back the best from them for those. So that's what we're looking at from Wally. And then
is the Pixelbook Go out of the question, off the table at this point?
Yeah, they were considerably more expensive than the Dells, and they weren't 2-in-1. And I really wanted that functionality because that's what I quoted people when I said pick one. So it'll be an i5 11th generation with 16 gigs of RAM and I think 256 gig hard drive, maybe 128. I don't remember. But at least
similarly spec'd out to that Pixelbook.
Yes, same specs as this Pixelbook, but it's got the 2-in-1 touchscreen instead of a laptop with a touchscreen. And the connectivity is a little bit better on those. They have more USB 3, USB-C ports on them. So you can charge them and put in an adapter, which is important. And they also have the Dell charging port, so you can use an old Dell charger.
Oh, I have one of those.
Right. It's useful when you can charge it either way.
I want to say something on Promethean boards.
Yep.
I don't know if there's already a policy in place. If so, I don't think the teachers are aware of it. We need to know where a Promethean board belongs. Does it belong to the department? Does it belong to tech? Does it belong to the room? Does it belong to the teacher?
So depending on where it is and how it was purchased, I could make the argument that they all belong to the district. But, you know, if it came out of science's budget, which the ones that are in science of the junior high did, then I can totally entertain the argument that it should stick with the science department.
Okay. Because I don't know if you've heard about that becoming a grumbling at the middle school. There's been this to do over the Promethean board.
But at Wawaloon and Metcalf, those were bought with school funds, like it comes out of the school technology. The problem is right now, the senior high and junior high don't have a school-wide instructional technology line.
And we used to.
Well, it's there for leasing, but it's not there to buy it outright. So I don't even have a way to put it in the budget. There's an instructional technology line for each department. So that's how they usually get budgeted. And it's just a question of the department heads putting it in with a justification and Jim approving it if they want Promethean boards. I'm happy to do it. If that's not what you want, if what you really want is a 75-inch TV instead of a projector, I can do that too. Like there's plenty of options.
Yeah, no, there's a Promethean board on the first floor.
In art?
In the science room.
Okay.
106. And a teacher who is covering or in that room wanted to use the board, But then the teacher whose room it actually was this year wasn't comfortable with them doing that because it belonged to them in the science department.
If
And
someone's using the room, they should be able to use it. It's tech in the room.
I know. It was just this big thing. And now that person's on leave. So now they're like, well, this other person wants to use the board, but they're a social studies person. So
Yeah, I worked with that. I worked with a bunch of those teachers last year, and I showed them how to connect their MacBook or their Chromebook or whatever else they wanted to connect to it and just use it. And for that matter, they could log into the Chromebox that's on the back of the device, on the back of the Promethean, and boom, they're instantly up and running. There's absolutely no reason why anybody that walks into that room, even a student, if it's the Chromebox, gosh, log into it and go do your stuff.
they should definitely stay in the room that they're installed.
Yeah, I'm not moving them.
Yeah.
Because they're mounted on the wall. Unless the department wants them mobile, in which case we can order it with a cart. I know at Metcalf, one of the big concerns was they change the number of each grade they have depending on the population. So a room this year might be used for 5th grade that doesn't get used at all next year. So one of the things we did was we said we'll buy 5 for each grade, and then that mounted on the wall, and then 2 on carts that can be moved if the classrooms change. Because I don't like requests to move something that we permanently mounted to the wall.
Okay.
But yeah, there's plenty of options. Just if the social studies department wants to use one, don't put it in their budget. I mean, it's not expensive, and I expect them to last 7 to 10 years. So
This is a part-time.
Are the
previous going on?
Or assign them to a room that has one. I think I don't have a problem with that.
Are the new ones coming with Chrome boxes, or
Yes.
that other Android lash up thing that slid in?
Those have been discontinued. It's just the Chrome boxes on the active panel nickels.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's where we're at with
The
that.
Chrome boxes actually work really well with that. I mean, it's just a big giant touchscreen Chromebook.
And when the Chrome boxes go out, we can just replace the Chrome box. It's not like when they're no longer supported, we'll just buy a new Chrome box.
Yeah.
So the maintenance is only like $300 every 4 years when the model gets retired. And then for MacBooks, so Bob, Jim, and I looked at the proposal from Apple, and they've changed the way Apple Care Plus works. It's the same price as always, but now there's a $50 repair fee every time you send it in. So not only do they want $139 per device for Apple Care Plus, it's also $50 every time it breaks. And that's just not worth it. With the number of times we have devices broken, I said, you know what? Instead, we'll buy MacBooks with better specs and some spares and budget for spares, and try to fix them ourselves or whatever we got to do. Because I don't want to waste $25,000 in district funds on that every time we lease. That's silly.
So you have an insurance policy with a deductible, a $50 deductible every time you use it.
Right.
Wow.
And it's not cheap. I mean, I don't know. So anyway, we're going to order some spares. What I was able to do was for all the teachers and administrators, I budgeted for, I didn't budget. I got a quote to do, let me change this. So there's 18 people who are getting standard Macs, which is the base level MacBook Air, which is still pretty decent. That's like the one that you have that I got as a demo unit. And then for the teachers and administrators, there's 160 of those with 16 gigs of RAM and 256 gig hard drives. And then there was one teacher who requested a MacBook Pro with a really good reason, so I ordered that as well. Just waiting for the leasing to come back on those so I can put that through. And then I think I bought like 10 or 11 spares, so we should be good. Any questions about classroom technology or student and teacher devices?
Have any vendors said, oh, yeah, we won't be able to fulfill that until November?
Some of them depends on what you are buying. Like, I know the problem is the New England vendors don't keep inventory in a warehouse because New England states have a tendency to have laws that charge them property tax on inventory they have sitting in a warehouse. So, vendors like Wally and SHI who are based in New England don't keep equipment in a warehouse. Whereas a company like Gov Connections, they're based in Ohio, they don't have that problem. I think they're Cleveland, I don't know, Detroit, somewhere over there. They don't have that problem. So they actually have the inventory on hand, and they also bought it before the prices went through the roof because of the chip shortage. So I think that's why I got a much better price from Gov Connections. But it's inventory they actually have on hand. Apple is saying like 4 weeks on MacBooks. Dell, they said 6 weeks, but we'll see. But it's not like we don't have devices in hand now we could use if stuff isn't in.
Right.
How's the projector inventory? Did you purchase any of those, or were those slated? Or
So I still have one spare projector from last year, but I do have more in the budget for this year. The problem is the line it's budgeted in isn't the right line, so I have to do a budget transfer. And since I have one on hand, I don't want to buy more until we've used it.
I think we'll see a little increase there because there was a lot of room consolidation this year because of COVID. And once everything starts, I mean, right now everyone's out, but once we start actually spreading out, we might see more demand,
right,
or need.
I don't have a ton of money for that, but we'll figure it out. Internet filtering. We're going to stick with securely because I did a pretty good job. I'd like to get the iBoss out of line at some point this summer. It's on my list. I don't know whether we'll get to it or not, but right now it's only being used to filter the computers that are sitting on desks or the guest network, which we can use. We can either use securely for that, or we can set up Cisco Umbrella to be more restrictive for those subnets. And three filters seems like excessive. So, and the iBoss gives us trouble sometimes and interferes with securely. So I want to address that. Whether or not we get to it this summer, I don't know. So that's all I got for internet filtering. Summer work, we're moving forward. We've got one intern from URI who we're paying as a sub, and we've got but he's also doing the innovation camp, so he's only coming in part-time. The other one is here 2 days a week through the West Bay Collaborative, and we've taught him how to break down old Chromebooks for parts. So he's going through all the broken Chromebooks that we have and pulling the screens out, the keyboards and everything. The screens are especially useful from those C740s because they're the same screen in the Dell and they're the same screen in the HP. So we can use all those screens as spares.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's all I got for summer work. Haven't made any progress on software and data privacy agreements other than after our last meeting, I did sign the DPA with Class Dojo, and I talked to the administrators about it. I know there was a member who really wanted to use it at Wawaloom, but the administrators feel like they really want a consistent platform across the elementary grades. So they want to stick with Seesaw for grades K through 6. I totally see that point too. So that's what they're planning to do. I got to place that order. And then They had a lot of challenges with the kids in pre-K doing Seesaw, so they are going to switch to Class Dojo. But since it's not, the program's a lot different than going to school every day, I think it's a better fit for them. But I totally see, all of them's point. The administrator, the whole admin team had this discussion, and that's what they decided was it was better to have a consistent platform, even if it doesn't have as much functionality. It's easier to support, and we got a ton of complaints from parents at the beginning of COVID about, well, I got to sign up for this and I got to sign up for this, and I'm getting different types of communication, and they don't want that. So that's the plan there. We had the Technology Excellence Award nominations go out. I think we only got 3 nominations, which I think I shared that with you guys. You guys were the team who were going to evaluate those, right?
Yeah, but I don't remember seeing nominations.
All right. Well, I'll send those to you now so that you have them. Where'd my Google Drive go? Oh, I closed it. It doesn't happen. Oh, it was Alicia and Art. That's what it was. So you don't have it, Art?
Pretty sure I don't. While you're looking that up, I'll throw out that the Google pendulum continues to swing back and forth.
Yes.
A few years ago, Google Drive is going away, and they're going to replace it with Backup and Sync and File Stream. And now Google Backup and Sync and Google File Stream are going away and getting replaced by, drumroll, Google Drive.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, they need to just, and the same with their messaging platforms. Like, just stop.
They can't stop.
Make a great one, and then leave it alone. Just like let it ride.
The problem at Google is a project only gets attention while it's in development. Once it goes to stable, they don't have a team, like they have a different support team supporting it, but it's not the same group of active coders who were developing it. Mm-hmm. So while it's in beta, it's great. But then once it hits production, it like development just kind of stops. And then they start working on an offline version of the next version.
Yeah.
In alpha. And they end up killing the alpha department if the project isn't doing well, and they kill the product.
And while they're at it, they make a version for work and a version for personal, and sometimes they do the same thing, and sometimes they have the same name, and sometimes they have different names, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the number of messaging apps Google has had over the years, it's kind of crazy. I mean, they had Google, I don't know, they had Google Talk, then they had Google, the first Google Chat, and they had Google Hangouts, and they had, the new Google Chat, and then they've had Meet, and they've had,
Google Plus.
They bought Duo. Is it Duo? I don't know. The private and Allo, and they keep buying everybody and incorporating it with the Google name, and then they kill it and take the IP, and it's just a mess.
Yeah.
It's just their effort to just keep on top of everything by buying and destroying anything else that competes.
It's crazy. They can't even pick a technology behind it. They went from Jabber to XMP to RTC.
Yeah. Quora, I think it was Quora. They bought Quora. That was big in South America. And then shuttered that. I think the only ones they've really developed have been Wave and Buzz. And gosh, greatest thing since sliced bread. Oh, wait a minute, it's going away.
I miss Google Talk. It just worked. And it would talk across platforms. Like you could talk to somebody on AIM through Talk. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it was a really nice cross-platform tool, and they killed it.
All right, I see that.
All right. So that's that. The budget is the budget. I don't think we cut anything after. You know, we made some minor cuts at the beginning, and then Jim was like, "We need all this stuff," so it all went through. We really need to look at the technology pan at some point, but it ain't going to be today. And that brings us to share something awesome. And we can also bring back the open forum. So if anything came up that you want to talk about, or anything that wasn't on the agenda you want to talk about, we can talk about that now, or we can have the roundtable discussion about something awesome, or whatever else you want to talk about.
I'll throw out one for the open forum. When I get done with this project here at the house, if I wanted to image some more of the Macs, would there be space in the IT bunker for me to set up and do that?
Yes, there's room in the back room for that.
Okay. So I could get a cardboard box or something and make a table out of it. And
there's actually tables back there. We just have to set up a power strip so you can plug in more than one, and you're all set.
All right. That may be a rainy day project, I think.
Okay.
I don't want to leave that until the last week in August.
Okay.
But so that they're ready to move up to the room when it's time to go.
Sounds good. No. Anything else?
I don't know anything.
All right. Well, we got to the end of the agenda. I hope you guys are enjoying your summer. We will call the end of this meeting. Where did I put that? At 13:32. So.